On my birthday, my husband took his mother out for dinner and left me home with the kids. He told me to stop expecting special treatment. I sat alone until midnight, then picked up my phone and made a call that would change our family tree because I'm 42 and have 3 kids, ages 14, 10, and 6. I've been married to Darren since I was 27. We met in college, both of us just trying to figure life out. Back then he was charming, funny, and he made me feel seen. I fell hard. We got married a year after graduation, bought a modest home in Winston-Salem, and started a life. Things didn't go bad, all at once. It was slow, like water wearing down stone. I gave up a lot early on. My career was the first thing. I had a good entry-level accounting job, but after we had our first baby, Darren made it clear he didn't want someone else raising our child. "We don't need the money," he said. "Just stay home. It's better for everyone." I agreed because it made sense at the time. But over the years, we turned into him. He controlled everything. How we spent, how much I had access to, even how much I contributed to decisions. He always made it sound like I was too emotional, too impulsive, or just too out of touch because I wasn't working for real anymore. He started mocking my bookkeeping clients. I picked them up part-time to feel useful and help cover little things. But he'd joke in front of his friends. "Oh, she does numbers for the neighborhood bake sale," or "she plays accountant for moms who can't balance a checkbook." I smiled through it, laughed along, but it hurt, and it never stopped. His mother, Janice, has always been a problem. From day one, she saw me as competition. I tried to be kind, involve her with the kids, invite her over. Nothing worked. Darren always took her side, even when she said insulting things. "You know you'll lose your looks after baby number 2, right? Are you feeding him formula again?" Lazy women always go that route. The more she poked, the more Darren defended her. And I learned to shrink. But nothing stung like this birthday. It was my 42nd, not a milestone, but still, it's my day. All I wanted was dinner at home, maybe a card. Nothing fancy. I'd even bought myself a slice of cake from Harris Teeter earlier that week, just in case. That morning, Darren didn't say a word. No hug, no mention. Just drank his coffee and left for work. I texted him around noon. "Anything I should plan for dinner?" Trying to give him a chance. He replied 3 hours later. "Nothing. I'll be out tonight." When he got home, I asked, "Where are you going?" He said like it was nothing. "Taking mom to dinner. She's been feeling stressed." I stared at him. "It's my birthday." He looked at me like I was the one being selfish. "You're not a kid anymore. You really need to stop expecting special treatment every year." And just like that, he walked out. I watched him drive away. I didn't cry right away. I moved like a robot. Made dinner for the kids, cleaned up, got them bathed and in bed. Around 10 p.m., I poured myself a glass of wine and sat alone at the table. Just me, the hum of the fridge, and that damn piece of cake with one cheap candle in it. I stared at the phone. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want a vent. I wanted a way out. So I called Keith. He's a lawyer I met through my boss at the community center. He helps women who need quiet exits, no drama, just clean breaks. We'd talked once at a fundraiser. He told me, "If you ever need to protect yourself and your kids, call me. Don't wait until it's too late." I waited until 11:50 p.m. I couldn't bring myself to call before that. It felt like some part of me still wanted Darren to come home and say surprise. He didn't. I dialed. Keith picked up. "Hello. It's me," I said. "I think I'm ready." I told him everything. We talked until past midnight. And when we hung up, I felt like I'd taken the first breath in years. Over the next few weeks, I started moving in silence. I found an old savings account I'd opened before marriage, still active, just inactive. I started moving small amounts into it. $50 from cashback apps. A refund from a canceled subscription Darren didn't notice. I sold a few unused gift cards online. Keith helped me set up legal protections. Quietly moving money, getting documents ready, understanding what I'd need to prove in court. Then I started digging through the garage. I was looking for old tax papers. Instead, I found a black Android phone hidden in a toolbox behind some paint cans. It wasn't even locked. The texts made me sick. Most were between him and his mom, messages where she trashed me and he agreed. She's gotten lazy. I should have married someone with more ambition. The house is depressing when she's around. Then I saw another name.
Tanya.
A trainer at his gym. Younger. Blonder.
Fit.
Photos. Messages.
Dates. The worst were the things he said about me.
Feels like I'm stuck in a cage. She's not even a person anymore. I just go home for the kids. I printed everything. Every message, every receipt. And I started a folder. Not a digital one, a physical binder with tabs. I called it my freedom. And I knew exactly who to show it to first, his mother. The folder sat under my bed for 2 weeks before I did anything with it. I added to it every day, screenshots, bank records, printouts from the hidden phone. I even wrote notes on the back of some pages, dates, times, what the kids saw, what Darren said to me after. I wasn't just building a case. I was building proof. Proof of who he really was when no one else was looking. I didn't want to just leave. I wanted people to see him for what he was. Not the charming PDA dad. Not Janice's perfect son. The man who stripped me down to nothing, then acted like I disappeared. I waited for the right moment. It came the next Sunday. Janice invited herself over for lunch after church. Darren was out running errands, which usually meant flirting at the gym or disappearing for 2 hours with no explanation. I told her sure, come by. I'd make something light. She came in like she owned the place. Didn't even take off her shoes. She criticized the way I'd arranged the living room, asked why the floors looked scuffed, and then sat down like she was doing me a favor. I brought out sandwiches and iced tea. She looked at them and said, "No cake today? You always bake for the kids. You should really make more effort." I said nothing, just sat across from her and slid the folder across the table. "What's this?" she asked. "Just some things I think you should see before I make them public." She opened it, slowly at first. Then page by page, her face changed. Her smug look faded. She stopped talking entirely by page 8. By page 23, she looked pale. When she hit the text where Darren said she'd never be alone because he'd always take care of her, even if I leave that cold bitch, she flinched. She closed the folder and looked at me. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you built this version of him. You coddled him. You protected him. And now he's yours to fix." "I had no idea," she whispered. "I know. You didn't want to." She left without touching her sandwich. That same night, Darren came home late, sweaty and tired. I handed him a glass of water and told him his mom had stopped by. "She seemed upset," I said flat. He looked up from his phone.
"Why?"
"What did you say?" I didn't answer. Just watched him drink. The next day, he found the folder. I'd moved it. Left it in his sock drawer. He didn't say a word for 2 full days. No fight, no yelling. Just silence. Then on Wednesday, he changed. Suddenly, he was sweet. Attentive. Took the kids to school, brought me coffee, offered to cook dinner. Asked if I wanted a reset weekend, just the 2 of us. I kept smiling. I played along. But I also checked our accounts daily. Watched for any strange withdrawals. I knew this wasn't guilt, it was fear. He knew I had something that could ruin him. And he didn't know what I'd do with it. A week later, I noticed something off. My oldest, 14, smart and observant, asked me, "Why is Dad acting weird?" "What do you mean?" "He cleaned my room. He never does that. And he said sorry about missing your birthday. He never says sorry." I nodded.
"Yeah.
People act weird when they're scared." Darren's panic turned into control. He started asking where I was going, who I was texting. He even asked me to turn on location sharing on my phone for emergencies. Then I noticed the cameras. 1 in the living room, 1 in the garage, 1 outside the kitchen window. He hadn't told me. He just installed them. When I confronted him, he said it was for security. I knew better. He wanted to watch me. He wanted to know when I left the house, who I brought in, and if I was meeting with lawyers. That's when I moved faster. Keith helped me file the initial paperwork, quietly. I opened a P.O. box in a nearby town. I opened new credit under my maiden name. I created a backup email account. I moved copies of all evidence to a safe deposit box. Then one night, Darren went too far. He came into the bedroom while I was brushing my hair. He stood behind me too close. I felt his breath on my neck. "You think you're smarter than me?" he asked. I didn't flinch. "I think I'm done pretending," I said.
He didn't like that.
He grabbed the brush from my hand and slammed it down on the vanity. "You want to go to war with me? You'll lose. You'll lose the house. You'll lose the kids. You'll end up broke and alone." I looked him dead in the eye. "No," I said. "You will." After that night, the brush, the threat, I stopped sleeping. Not just from fear. From calculation. Darren had shown his hand. He was scared, but also desperate. Desperate men don't think straight. And desperate men make mistakes. 2 days later, I got a call from the kids' school. My 6-year-old, Evan, had been picked up early. By Darren. He never does pickups. Ever. I called him right away. "Why did you take Evan out of school?" He said flatly, "Doctor's appointment." "You forgot, apparently." I hadn't. Because there wasn't one. I knew what he was doing, trying to make a record. Trying to show he was the involved parent, the one who handled things while I supposedly couldn't keep up. It didn't stop there. He started showing up to parent meetings, emailing teachers, volunteering for school events. He even told the principal that we were working through some marital instability and that he wanted to be more present for the kids. It was a setup. So I set my own. I started recording everything. Every conversation, every interaction. I documented the hidden cameras. The change in our routines. The things the kids said. I talked to my neighbor, Carla, who told me she'd seen Darren meeting a woman in his truck late at night twice, parked 2 blocks away. I had her write a statement. She agreed. Then I got lucky. I took the kids to my mom's for the weekend while Darren claimed he was going to stay home and fix the deck. I didn't tell him I installed my own camera in the living room, a small pinhole one Keith gave me. Legal because it was my home. The footage showed Darren walking in with Tanya. He didn't even wait an hour. They used our bedroom. Our bed. She played with our family dog, like she lived there. And worse, Darren let her go through my things. My drawers. My laptop. They were looking for something. He was trying to find the folder. I didn't say a word when I got home. Just smiled, asked how the deck was going, kissed the kids, made dinner. But that night, I went to the safe deposit box and made copies of everything. Then I sent them to 4 different people. Keith, my sister,
Carla,
and, for good measure, the HR department of Darren's company. He works in finance at a private equity firm, one that prides itself on image. Then came the twist that Darren never saw coming.
Janice called me, crying.
She wasn't sick. But she was scared. Darren had snapped at her when she questioned him about Tanya. He'd cursed at her, told her to stay out of his ing business, and told her if she ever spoke to me again, she'd be cut off. She was shocked. Said he'd never spoken to her like that. "He's not well," she said over the phone. "He's unraveling." I didn't comfort her. I just told her, "Now you see him." 2 days later, she showed up at my door with a box. "I think you'll want this," she said. Inside were financial records. From Darren's teen years through today. Records Janice had kept, credit card applications, early banking documents, even some old employment paperwork where Darren had lied about degrees he never finished. "I covered for him for years," she said. "But I won't anymore." That night, I added her folder to mine. I now had a file thick enough to bury him in court. But the final twist came from someone I never expected.
Tanya.
She messaged me on Facebook. Simple, short. "Can we talk?" At first, I ignored it, but curiosity won. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop on Haynes Mall Boulevard. I sat down across from her. She looked nervous. Tired. "I didn't know," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "I thought you were separated." He told me you were emotionally unstable, that he was the one raising the kids. He said you were stealing from him. She looked sick saying it. I believed him. Until I saw the nanny cams. I saw the way he talked about you. About the kids. She slid a USB drive across the table. Everything he ever sent me. Screenshots, voice notes. He's worse than you know. I took it. Quietly. As I left, she said one last thing. Be careful. He said if you took him to court, he'd make you regret it. I nodded. He already has. After I met with Tanya, I drove to a quiet parking lot and just sat there. For over an hour. Holding that USB drive like it was a grenade. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat in silence, letting it all settle. The years I spent pretending things were normal. The nights I curled up on one side of the bed while Darren snored on the other, checked out and cold. The birthdays missed. The cruel words whispered behind my back. The way he weaponized my role as a mother against me. I went home, waited until the house was empty, and plugged the USB into my laptop. She wasn't lying. There were dozens of messages. Voice recordings where Darren ranted about me like I was some burden he couldn't shake. Texts where he joked about sabotaging our joint account, so I couldn't afford to leave. There was even a video he sent her, him holding up a glass of wine in our bedroom, saying, "One day this'll all be yours." Tanya had also included photos of them together. Dates, locations, receipts. Most damning was a hotel booking, charged to our joint credit card. On the same day, he told me he was at a conference in Charlotte. I documented every bit of it. Then I filed the official divorce papers. Served him through Keith's office, by certified courier, at his workplace. I timed it for 10:15 a.m., right in the middle of his weekly leadership meeting. The reaction was immediate. By noon, he was blowing up my phone. Text after text. Angry, panicked, then apologetic. Then angry again. By 3 p.m., I got a call from his HR department. They'd received an anonymous envelope. Copies of the texts with Tanya, the misuse of company funds, and proof he'd lied on his resume years ago about finishing his degree. They were reviewing his conduct. He came home that night fuming, slamming doors, accusing me of ruining his life. I stood my ground. You did that, I said. You just finally ran out of places to hide. The next few weeks were brutal. Legal filings. Custody negotiations. Darren tried every trick in the book. Claimed I was mentally unstable, tried to say I neglected the kids, even suggested I had a gambling problem because I'd moved money. But I had everything. Receipts. Witnesses. Video proof. Statements from Carla. Screenshots from Tanya. And most importantly, his own words, written in texts he never thought anyone else would see. Then came the custody mediation. It was supposed to be a quiet meeting, but Darren showed up late, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He tried to act calm, professional. But when Keith presented the evidence, including Janice's documents and Tanya's recordings, Darren lost it. He stood up, shouting, accusing everyone of conspiring against him. The mediator called a break. Darren stormed out. Keith turned to me and said quietly, "He just handed us everything we need." But I wasn't done. I still hadn't decided how to finish this. How to deliver the one thing he never expected, the public fall. Because Darren built his life on image. A loving husband, devoted father, financial professional, stable, respected, admired. And I had the truth. All of it. Enough to burn down every lie he ever built. And I knew exactly when to strike. I waited 3 more weeks. Not because I had doubts. Those were gone. I waited because I wanted it to land when it would hurt most. Darren had an annual recognition event coming up. His firm rented out a banquet hall every year. It was black tie, with partners flying in from out of state. He'd been bragging about it for months, even during the divorce mess. Said he was in line for a promotion, maybe even a regional leadership role. I let him believe that. He didn't know I'd already spoken to his firm's compliance department. Quietly, professionally, I'd handed over proof of expense fraud. misuse of company cards for hotel stays, meals, even a massage parlor receipt from the same weekend he claimed he was on a company retreat. I gave them the text where he joked about putting stuff under client entertainment they never check. They thanked me. They said they'd be looking into it. I also gave them a notarized statement from Tanya. She agreed to it. Said she didn't want to be tied to someone like him anymore. Then, 2 days before the banquet, I sent a private message to the firm's managing partner. One screenshot. One line of text from Darren that read, "I just pretend to be the family guy. That's what plays well. Nobody wants to hear your wife hates you and you're screwing your trainer." I heard nothing back. But I didn't need to. The day of the banquet, I dressed up. Not for him, for me. Simple black dress, heels, light makeup. I wasn't going to the event. I was going to dinner with Carla and my sister, celebrating my court win. That morning, the judge granted me primary custody. Darren got visitation every other weekend, supervised for now. He had to move out of the house within 30 days. I kept the car, the house, and our savings, minus his half of the 401k, which he couldn't access until later anyway. The judge reviewed the financial abuse and hidden accounts and agreed. I'd been carrying the weight while he played the victim. By 8 p.m., I was sipping wine when the first text came. "What the hell did you do?" I didn't reply. Then another. "They're suspending me. I'm under investigation. You ruined me." Still no response. Then a final one. "You're gonna regret this. You think you won? I'll drag you down too." I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Keith. "Add this to the file," I wrote. An hour later, Janice called. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened to it, her voice was shaking. "He's blaming everyone. He says he's going to sue the firm, sue you, sue me."
I'm sorry.
I should have seen this years ago. I turned off the phone. I slept like a rock that night. First time in months. The fallout came fast after that. Darren was officially terminated within the week. Violation of conduct and ethical guidelines. No evidence. No reference. His name was quietly removed from the company website. His LinkedIn went dark. His credit took a hit. He tried to get a private loan and was denied. Tanya blocked him. Carla, God bless her, had already told her entire church group about what he did. Word got around fast. People stopped asking why I was divorcing him. They already knew. The final revenge wasn't just legal or financial.
It was deeper than that.
It was reclaiming my life. I repainted the bedroom. Changed the locks. I took the kids to Myrtle Beach for spring break, something we'd never done because Darren always said it was too expensive. I started teaching a bookkeeping class at the community center. I got my first full-time client. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. The kids adjusted faster than I expected. They didn't ask about Darren much. And when they did, I was honest but gentle. "He's figuring himself out," I said. Truth was, he'd already figured himself out. He just didn't expect everyone else to see it too. Revenge didn't feel loud. It felt quiet.
Clean.
Like fresh air after years in a sealed room. And every time I walk into my kitchen now, light coming through the window, dog sleeping at my feet, coffee in hand, I remember that birthday. And I smile. Because I'll never spend another one waiting to matter.